assumed that it would be, an easy 4 years of hanging out in garrison and maybe, doing ropes courses or something. I mean, I was also to some degree misled by, my recruiter. And then I joined in August, and in my first week of basic training, September 11th happened. So.
And after September 11th, I re-enlisted in the National Guard to help serve my country. I had been in the service prior to that from '85 until '93.
I'm obsessed with the flag. I love the flag. Everything I own is flag. And growing up, I kind of noticed it was kind of affiliated with the Army. Freshman year of college, I would see kind of around campus, and I kind of thought something I wanted to do. I absolutely love our country. I think it's the greatest place in the world. And so sophomore year, I signed up.
I grew up in a family where my father was drafted during Vietnam, my grandfather was drafted during World War II and spent 3 years in the South Pacific. And they hated the military in large part, but they got a lot out of their experiences. So I felt like I had an obligation to give something back. Because I didn't have to go didn't mean I shouldn't go.
I live here in Santa Ana, I'm not going nowhere, I'm not gonna do nothing. My friends are getting locked up. So it's just what's the point? I mean, what's the point of staying here? I might as well just leave. And then I talked to a recruiter and he starts telling me, okay, you could go here and you could go there and you could do this and that. So it sounded good, it sounded good.
I just chose to go active guard reserves in November, and we got deployed on December 7th.
People would always ask me how I got my 4 sons to join the military, and everybody was always so proud to know someone that had 4 sons in. They'd always ask me, how did you do it? If you had asked me in 2000, I would have said, yes, it's the best career you can get.
Even at age 2, my dad had me in a uniform, so I kind of was indoctrinated at a young age and ultimately ended up joining as soon as I turned old enough to do it.
I knew what I was getting into. I knew they were already invading Afghanistan by then. And, I kind of had a feeling, and I knew in my heart that I was going to war one way or another, but I felt and I believed in my heart that I was doing the right thing because of what happened on September 11th.
Our thing was Baghdad. Baghdad or bust. Go home through Baghdad.
The thing about combat is, I never lost a wingman, okay? And I commanded in combat. I brought all my people back. And so the premium is on competence. You all go in, you all come out.
The total number of people who have served in the theater of operation since the war started could reach as high as 1 million people because units are going in and coming out and going back in. My understanding is right now it's over 400,000. This war's different. There are no clear enemy lines. The battlefield completely surrounds the soldier. It's above you, it's below you, it's to the left, it's to the right. It's 360 degrees, you don't know where the enemy is. That is an incredible amount of pressure to operate under.
I would say this about the soldiers that I have met and interviewed in general. They are total professionals, very committed professionals, patriots, experts at what they do. They don't ask questions. When they are asked to go and fight in Operation Iraqi Freedom, they go and do it. And they put their lives on the line, and they believe, and I think rightly so, that a bargain is struck they are willing to lay down their lives and their health to serve their country, and they believe that in return they should be taken care of if things don't go well.
We had been in a firefight, we had been in an engagement, the engagement was over. We're sitting there and I see this woman walking out in all black. She's got a bag under her arm, she's wearing a burqa, and she's walking out towards the armored vehicle. And the guys on the Amtrak, on the armored vehicle, start yelling, waving their hands and telling her to stop, and they're raising their weapons. And I went, okay, one of two things is gonna happen. This woman's gonna put up her hands and surrender and start talking to the Marines, or she's gonna walk up to these guys and explode. If she blows up, she's gonna kill a bunch of those guys or wound a bunch of them. I've got a clear shot with nothing behind her. And this was all, I mean, this was split second, like, you know, it happens that fast. Pulled up my rifle, took 2 shots at her. I know I probably missed the first shot. The second shot, I'm pretty sure I hit her. And as soon as that second shot went off, the guys in the other vehicle opened up, and they cut her down. She fell to the dirt, and as she fell, she had a white flag in her hand. She had pulled out of her bag. At that moment right there, I lost it. I threw my weapon down on the deck of the vehicle. I was crying. I was like, oh my God, what are we doing here? What's happening? I had a gunnery sergeant who'd been in the first war. He said, it happens. There's nothing you can do to bring her back. It happens. We got to keep going.
The soldiers have a Pavlovian response when they're attacked to fire and protect themselves. And so how do you pick out the one enemy in the crowd of 50 that's holding the RPG? It's really difficult.
I seen one of the soldiers, he slowed down like he was going to stop for the child, and then he speeded the truck up and run over him. But the Army told us if somebody got in front of the truck to run over them.
We were told that if someone jumps out in front of your vehicle, regardless, adult, child, anything, don't move, just run them over. When you value life, you don't really want to do it, but then again, that if you value your life enough, you'll do it. It's a very hard decision, and I'm glad I never had to face that decision.
We could be several miles back, and that's the thing with artillery, you don't see what you're shooting at. And most of the time you don't see the results of it. One of the times we shot into an area, there was, I believe it was an Iraqi artillery unit we were shooting at. And about 20-30 minutes later, we passed by the same area. It looked like they had been put into a giant blender, spun around, and poured back over the ground. You really couldn't tell what was what. This piece of metal here, piece of metal there.
This is a psychological event that most people aren't prepared for. When you pull a trigger, or when you witness death, or when you see people who are, when you're under a terrorist attack constantly, it's a psychological event. It's abnormal circumstances which require a certain level of care when you come back home.
And the military training experience is meant to strip you of your humanity, to get you to actually participate in an unnatural act, which is the organized killing of other human beings. It's something that's very difficult to live with, you know, knowing that you took away, you know, everything that a person ever was and everything they ever will be. But if you look at the sad state of, you know, a lot of the Vietnam veterans and the fact that so many of them are homeless above and beyond what the national percentage is, and if you look at the cutbacks on VA hospitals, things like that, the reality is that, you know, once you've served your purpose, you're no longer of use.
I am not fighting for justice. I am not fighting for freedom. I am fighting for my life and another day in the world here. I just do what I've been told. We're just the gravel on the road, and only the lucky ones come home on the day after tomorrow.
They don't give even the body count now. They keep it quiet on both sides. So they try to keep death out of it. This is so ironic, you know. They have them. This is the most profound killing machines, if you could say profound is a word for it, but most expert killing machines ever invented. Yet the actual killing is kept out of the equation.
The average age now in our military, I've been told, is 19 and a half. And many, especially of the severely wounded, are our young people. And we began receiving, as a hospital, not as a neurosurgeon, but as a hospital, we began receiving an average of 30 to 40 patients per day. What I was experiencing here was many amputations of kids losing both arms and a leg or vice versa, severe burns, severe injuries. When you're facing people that are truly suffering and know how serious their injuries are, the whole thing I found not only was affecting me, but affected a lot of the providers.
Like, you turn on the news every day and you hear a number. Like, I hear like 14 wounded, 10 dead. I mean, all it is a number, and that's absolutely ridiculous.
I think the big question is the number of injured. People who don't sustain injury as a result of enemy contact directly. All the people who've fallen off trucks or got their leg run over by a Humvee or were in some kind of vehicular accident, all the things that weren't the result of direct enemy contact, I think those numbers are much higher than anybody really knows right now, except for the very high levels of the military.